Good night, everyone. Today, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Arma J of Spirit Divine. I'm going to give you a shout news and word on tonight. And this is an update from yesterday, the Dreadlocks. Now, the Barber Hill School, the dress code policy does not violate the Crown Act District Judge rule. So the Crown Act, they put it up. They do not violate the hairstyle, so they had to release him from that. So George, the black student, was 18 years old. He was going to this Barber Hill High School. East of Houston had been repeatedly suspended for his dreadlocks. So now we know Crown Act, it don't violate. So he can't get suspended from school no more. It don't violate the Crown Act District Judge rule for the hairstyle. But now the policy does not violate the Crown Act. So the Crown Act create a respectful and open workplace, a natural health. So the act, is a California law which prohibits discrimination based on hairstyle and hair texture, by attending protection under the FFHA in the California Education Code. Now, in California, they came up with this law. So we see this Crown Act, it don't violate his hairstyle. So. And this also is an update. Bipartisan National Security Agreement. This agreement, Bipartisan National Security Agreement would also advance our national security interests by continuing our support for the people of Ukraine and Israel. As they defend themselves against training and terrorists, while also providing much needed, assistance to civil affected by conflict around. So they still want to, we support Ukraine and Israel. So we got to continue having the funds to support them. So bipartisan national security will fund border, enforcement effort and unlock the military act for Ukraine. So we just trying to help the border. It seemed like it been broken for quite a while. So we have to have a good policy that's gonna stick. So then we'll have illegal immigrants coming through, so they so it won't be so overwhelmed, So we gotta come up a way that me too. We gotta come up with a way, that it'll be convenient. We won't be overwhelmed, so we won't have to keep closing, the gate. We won't have to keep closing the border. So I request Congress to pass the Bipartisan National Security Agreement. So that's the update from yesterday also. So Congress, we got the shutdowns, right? A couple of days from now, we got a Congress is facing Friday daylight, reaching a spending limit before partial government shutdown. So shutdown noon. Congress leader have failed to reach a deal on legislation to keep federal funding, going past March the 1st. With Republican assistance on adding right-wing policy dedicated to spending bill pushing the government to the brink of partial shutdown. So we got the shutdown going. So we got to come up. Why not keep the federal funding going? So we got to come up with a plan soon, because we had a deadline. We got to come up with a plan soon. So we got to come up, even if it's a temporary plan, we got to come up with something because before you know it, Friday is here. So that's on Congress. So I have a word for you today. I'm positioned to rebel it. So never on 4 chapter 1 through 23. You know, when they heard that we was rebuilding the wall, now he became angry and was greatly incensed the ridiculous the Jews. So the Jews decided to fix their wall, fix their wall. And so, other people don't want them to fix their wall. They're going to try everything they can to stop the progress. Sanballat was governor of Samaria religion just north of Judea where Jerusalem was located. So in the presence of his associate, the army of Samaria, he said, what are those Jews doing? He said, what is they doing? They are restoring the wall. Where they offer sacrifices, where they finish in a day. Can they bring the stones back to life from those heap of noble burned as they are? So Israel was captivity from other lands. Now these are captivity eventually intermarriage, with a few Israelites now who remain in the land to form a mixture race of people who became known as Samaritans. Remember I just put that out yesterday. Samaria don't like Jews, Jews don't like Samaria, but they mix because some of the Jews had married, some of them, so that's why they all mix. And the Jews who returned to the ones, now they returning back to Jerusalem with Jews because they went among the Samaritans, and that's how they had become mixed. Religion of Judea who have nothing to do with the Samaritan Jews and hate each other. Now, so who was at his side? Say what they are building. They're so worried about what they're building. Don't want them to build a wall. So even if I climbing up on it, to break the wall down. Now, what he trying to do? Distract them. Trying to let them know you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time trying to fix this wall because she's saying a fox gonna climb up there and knock the whole thing down. Because see, they don't want them to build it, and they're gonna try everything they can to stop them. Sanctify not on it that it was so low that a fox could easily get up, to it or leap over it. But that's the material was so bad and the work so poorly done that the weight of the fox would break it down. So that's them trying to distract them. Talking about you're going to be doing all that hard work, but the fox going to climb up there, your material is all weak, and the fox going to climb up there and knock your whole thing down. So hear us. Our God, for we are displeased, turn their insult back on their own head and get them over as a plunger in a lane of captivity. See, they prayed on it. They try to criticize, do all kind of stuff to just stop them. They wanted them to stop them, stop building the wall. So he said, our Father, for we are displeased, turn their insult back on their own head. Give them over as a plunder in the land of captivity. So never come against the discouraged and attack with prayer. And that's how you do. Even though somebody will criticize you, talk about you, whatever the case is, you just start praying. So he turned the attack with prayers. So that enemy had tried to stop the work, but they prayed. And that's how you do. You don't fight stone with stone. Don't fight stone with stone. You just get there and start praying. And watch how God work. Now, he don't work when you want to fight stone with stone. He'll work when you is silent and you not fighting back. Now sometimes you have to defend yourself, but some cases, walk away and start praying. Now do not cover up their guilt or block out their sin from your sight, for they have thrown insult in the face of the builder. So Naaman was praying, not for revenge, but that God's justice would be called out. And see, that's another thing. You don't have to pray to God for somebody to fall down, run into the street. You pray God, for justice. You pray God to protect you. You pray God for this to work out. So when we rebuild the wall till all the wall is reached half its height, for the people work their heart out. So the work of the rebuilding wall, progress well because the people had set their heart and mind, to accomplish the text. They did not lose faith. Give up, but intend preserve in the work. When you start a project, complete it. And see, that's how it is. They put it in their heart to do this. And that's how I am. When something in my heart, that I want to do, that it have to be done, I'm not gonna stop until it's complete. But you have to put it in your heart so you can make your mind up. That's what you're going to continue on doing. That's what you're going to do to complete it. So they had to put it in their heart. They had to put it in their heart that they're going to do this. No matter how the insult, the tax, or whatever it is, they not stopping. But when the Sabbath tablet, Ammonites, and the people, heard that the repairs to Jerusalem wall had gone ahead and that the gap was being closed. They was very angry. I don't know why they're so angry, because the wall has been put back together. They're talking about it closing the gaps up. I guess they got used to seeing all through the gaps. So when the enemy had heard, when they heard that it was to us, and that God had frustrated the plan. Now we all returned to the wall, and they built the wall, and the wall was joined together. Half its height. For the people had a mind to work. So they had it in their mind to work. So they all had plotted together to come and stir up trouble against them. So they determined to stir them up, make them angry, just keep on picking with them, because they don't want them to finish that wall. But they kept on working. And they kept on working. There was no stop. No stop. So they came together, frightened them to stop working. Nebuchadnezzar had prayed that God himself would take all the necessary action against them. And so God said He gonna take action again, because see, they prayed to God. So that means they're gonna let God fight their battle. And so they're doing everything they can. But by they done made their mind up, they said there ain't no stopping. They're going to complete this here. See, they thought they was finished, but the wall was half the height. They want it to be a certain height, so they're not finished. They got to keep on going. So but we pray to our God, and He posted a guard day and night to meet the threat. Cause see, they threatened. So God had put guards at each section, because see, but they say they prayed to God, and God posted guards at each corner, at each gate. Constantly combine prayers with preparation and planning. Now His people had trust God, and at the same time, He kept vision watch over what had been. So in trusting to Him. So meanwhile, the people in Judah had said the strength of the labor, is given out. And that is so much that we cannot rebuild the wall. So now they come up with excuses, and they might be tired because the wall is big. So now they ain't got no strength. They don't know if they're gonna keep on going. But they all plotted together, to come and fight against Jerusalem and stirred out trouble against it. But we prayed to our God, and He posted guard at each gate. Meet this threat, So people had strength. Of the labor is given out, and there is so much, work to be done, and they cannot rebuild the wall. So placing up the watch day and night in the continued labor must have pressed heavily upon the people. Because see, they were determined. So they had got tired. And also our enemy has said before they know it, or see us, we will be right there among them and will kill them and put an end to the work. So they want to kill them, and so they can put the end to the work. That just how bad they want them to stop working. That just how bad they want them to stop working. So they want to stop them from working. The enemy resolved not to appear with an army before Jerusalem, but to march, so secret. So they wanted a march secret. They wanted more secret so they can run up on them. That the Jews should have no notice, of their reproach, so they saw. They saw that the city armed and prepared to attack them suddenly and put them to the sword. So then the Jews, who had lived near, them came and told us 10 times over, whatever you turn, they will be attacking us. So they informed them 10 times, they will attack you by all the ways by which we can't come to you or you to them. Therefore our stationary, some of the people behind the lower part, of the wall in our post places, posting them by family, with their sword pills, so now they're trying to protect themselves, because they said they're gonna come up on them secret, and so they won't even be seeing them. So now they got to try to put more security, put some in the lower side and on the right hand side, and they're trying to make sure they're safe to build this wall, because some reason they don't want them to build this wall. They want to kill them to stop them. So now they know that they will attack them at any time. But do not panic. Don't run. Be courage and be on guard. So now when people will not go out looking for a fight, but the people of God will be ready to make a stand if they need to. you know, After the look, things over, they stood up and said to the noble official and the rest of the people, she said, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great, and also and fight for your family and your sons and your daughter and your wife and your home. He mighty in battle. So courage the people to accomplish, a large task because they were discouraged. The task seemed impossible. So this to finish this completion, this project, they think is impossible. So God had never to encourage them, to finish the work. Finish the work. They ain't nothing but the devil, trying to discourage them. So they think it cannot be finished. So too many factors, are working against us. And when our enemy heard that we was aware of their plot and that God had frustrated, so we returned to the wall in each of our own work. So the people working on the wall, the face will continue to threat, the terrorist attack, from those who didn't want to see, Jerusalem rebuilt and stationary guards at weak points. He reminded the workers to keep the weapon close at hand and to fight for God and their family and the nation if any attack came. He established duty rotating so that some stood guard and while others worked. So they had to rotate. So what they doing? They keeping their weapon close by them. Because they so and every cause see they supposed to come secret. So they're trying to be prepared. He's trying to be prepared. So they're working and keeping their weapon close, and they're taking turns. You go lay down for a little while, and so they're taking turns like that. So we have to live under God instruction. The opposition will fail. So from that day on, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with the shield, blow, and armor. The officer posted himself behind all the people of Judah. The workers were spread out, and the walls so advised the plan of defense that would unite and portray the people. Now half of the men worked, and the other stood guard. They ain't no what's stopping them. Some of them wanted to quit. Talking about they ain't got no strength and all that. God told never, and he had to go encourage them. Now who was building the wall? Now these who carry material did their work with one hand. They did their work with one hand and held their weapon in the other hand. So that meant, they was working for God. So that means they wasn't stopping. They had to figure that out. They had to figure out how they're going to do this. They work with one hand and a weapon in the other hand. So that is, they were well prepared. Either the builder, a fight, or for the expression of figuration, it is not being possible for them to work. If both hands had not been liberated, for in every duty, we must expect opposition from our spiritual enemy. Saying each of the builders, who is what at this side, as he worked. But the man who sound the trumpet, should be with me. So they're fighting a spiritual battle. And they have to be on guard, and they carry burdens where they loaded, in such a way that each labor, and in such a way that each labor in the work with one hand and held his weapon in the other hand. Each other builder had his rod scrap at his side while he built. Then he said to the noble, the officer, the official, and the rest of the people, the work is extended and spread out, and we are widely separated from each other along the wall. So now God is, when he has his important public work to do, never fail, to raise up instruments and accomplish it. The word of God is the sword of the Spirit, which we ought to have always at hand. And never to have a seek to fall in while they was working. They never put off our armor of God. You got to have the armor of God on until their work, warfare, ended. Because see, there was a spiritual battle, and they said they was dealing with the warfare, at the same time. So that's why they had to come scrap, because the warfare is the spirit, So they were gonna sneak up on her, and they wasn't gonna know nothing. Even though they scrap, they ain't gonna know who they were shooting at. So when the warfare ended, whatever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there, and God will fight for you. To further release, the anxiety of the people, Nelson has set up a communication system. The man who sounded the trumpet stayed with him, and the people knew what to do if he heard it. So we continue on to work, and half of the men holding spare, from the fight, light and dawn, until the stars came out. They kept on working. They kept on working. They worked so hard. They worked till the stars came out. So that we see that they continue to work, dressed with the armor of God on. So they was alert and prepared, even though they had distraction, and threat, and their head just complete the test. It was long and tired. They also had enemy that didn't want them to finish the wall. Even though you may want to quit, because it was hard, they were losing their strength. The same way with me. Strength. But some kind of way, you still gets it done. But they did not quit. Even though you want to quit, don't never quit. They ain't quit, but continue on working. But that time I also said to the people, have every man and his helper stay inside Jerusalem at night, so they can serve us as God by night and as workers by day. The enemy tried to stop them, from the complete the wall. The leader prayed to God, and God fight their battle. So neither I, nor my brother, no man, no God with me took off their clothes, and each had his weapon. So even when we went to get water, they had scrap. They had their weapon on them. They dressed, their weapon, even when they was getting water. Now, each person always had a weapon close hand. They placed their guard, and they was alert, and they prepared and took their responsibility serious. They took it serious. They come out and see what it was. They figure out the plot. They figure out the plot. And then the people, they found out they figure out their plot. So they had to come up with something. So, but they were prepared to be scrapped out. And so um, there was a building. They wanted to rebuild their wall. And so the enemy was so horrified of why they closing the wall. And they wanted them to stop. They didn't stop. They just kept on working. It was no stopping. And since they didn't want to stop, they said we're gonna secretly take them out. And then they ain't gonna know. We walk up on them. And that didn't work. And so they just kept on working until they completed. They had a lot of distraction, but they didn't let it stop them. Even though they wanted to quit, but they didn't quit. To have the labor was hard, but they just kept on pushing their way through. And that's how you have to do it. When you're on that project, don't let nothing distract you, because the devil gonna distract you. And they just kept on working, and they didn't let nothing stop them. Just for a little while, they had a doubt, and the leader had to encourage them, that this is for God. God have us doing this, and you cannot stop. And so they completed. Even though they had a lot of obstacles came on their path, to try to get them something. The first attack, they try to criticize, assault them, and so they just kept on coming by them, you still doing it, so they just kept on criticizing, so, and we did talk about the shutdown this March. It's this Friday. And so we still got to come up. We still got to come up with some funds, to keep, temporary funds or something to keep it going until we have a definite plan, for this particular project. And we talked about the Bipartisan National Security Agreement. We said let's it's support the funds will support Ukraine and Israel. And so I request that Congress pass a Bipartisan National Security Agreement. And so we also talked about another update yesterday, the Dreadlocks. And so the Crown Act, workplace, for natural hair, the California law, which prohibits discrimination on hairstyle and hair texture, extended protection under the FLHA California education law. So the Crown Act policy does not violate, the hairstyle. So that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a nice night, and I'll see y'all in the next video.